Imagine this. You're standing in a crowded room, maybe at a party, maybe at a cafe, maybe just in line at the grocery store. You see her. She's not the most stunning woman you've ever seen, but something about her energy pulls you in. She's laughing, her eyes are alive, and you can feel that magnetic pull inside your chest. You want to connect, you want to say something, you want to cross the distance between you and her before it's too late. And yet, you freeze. You overthink. You wait too long. And in that hesitation, the moment evaporates. She's gone, and with her, the chance to connect. Every man knows this feeling. That quiet regret that whispers, "If only I had acted, maybe my life would be different right now." Here's the truth most men don't want to hear. Connecting with new women isn't about being the funniest guy in the room, or the best looking, or even the richest. It's about cutting through the noise in her head and planting yourself into her emotional world. Women live in their emotions. They're constantly scanning, sensing, reading energy. They don't remember every word you say, but they remember how they felt around you. If she felt safe, excited, curious, or intrigued, you've already left your mark. If she felt bored, insecure, or smothered, you've lost before you even started. The quickest way to connect is not through rehearsed lines, fake confidence, or playing a role. It's through presence. The ability to stand in front of her and make her feel like, in that exact moment, nothing else matters. That kind of presence is rare, and because it's rare, it's powerful. Most men are distracted. Most men are scanning for validation, waiting to be liked, hoping they don't say the wrong thing. Women feel that. They sense when you're looking for approval instead of standing grounded in yourself. But here's the catch. Presence requires courage. It means you don't hide behind fake stories, over-the-top compliments, or nervous chatter. It means you hold eye contact a second longer than feels comfortable. You let silence sit instead of rushing to fill it. You don't lean forward with needy energy. You lean back and let her lean in. When you aren't desperate to impress her, her brain flips. She starts to wonder about you. That uncertainty hooks her curiosity, and curiosity is the bridge to attraction. Think about it. How many times have you watched a guy suffocate a conversation with constant jokes, bragging, or questions just to keep her engaged? He thinks he's connecting, but he's actually pushing her further away because she feels his fear of losing her attention. Now compare that to the man who says less, but when he speaks, his words land. He's calm, collected, unshaken. She feels like she's being pulled into his world, not the other way around. That's the man she thinks about later. Of course, most men sabotage themselves before they even get started. They project their nervousness. They approach like they're asking for permission instead of assuming their value. They mistake nice for interesting. And here's the brutal truth. Women don't crave nice. They crave real. Nice is predictable. Real is magnetic. If you can look at her, see through her polished mask, and speak to her humanity, you've connected. If all you offer is the same surface-level flattery she hears from every other guy, you've already been filed under forgettable. So the next time you're standing across from a new woman, test yourself. Can you drop the act? Can you speak slowly, clearly, without fumbling or rushing? Can you hold your frame while she tests you with a sarcastic remark, a dismissive glance, or a distracted gesture? Because she will test you. Every woman tests, not out of cruelty, but out of instinct. She wants to feel the strength of your presence before she lets herself relax into you. Fail that test and you'll never see her again. Pass it and you've unlocked a connection most men will never experience. Remember, connection isn't about doing more. It's about doing less, but with absolute conviction. Fewer words, but sharper intent. Less movement, but deeper focus. You are the rock in the storm, and she's drawn to that. Have you ever recognized yourself in the man who tries too hard to keep her attention? What happened when you finally stopped pushing? Which one of these mistakes do you catch yourself making most often? Talking too much, seeking approval, or playing the nice guy? Some women will never admit this out loud, but they know it's true. The moment a man shows he is willing to risk rejection, he becomes different from almost every other man she meets. Most men play it safe. They hang back, hover around her edges, try to sneak into her life without ever risking their ego. And because they never risk, they never connect. What feels like protection to them, avoiding embarrassment, avoiding rejection, avoiding looking foolish, is exactly what keeps them invisible. Think about how many times you've seen this play out. A man stands near a woman he's interested in. He laughs at her jokes from a distance, waits for the perfect moment to approach, or tries to insert himself into the group conversation, hoping she'll notice him. He thinks he's being subtle, but she reads it instantly. This is another man circling for permission. Another man who's afraid of owning his desire. Another man who is safe and forgettable. Now, contrast that with the man who takes one step closer. The man who locks eyes and doesn't break it until she looks away first. The man who makes a remark, not to impress, but simply to put his presence into her world. That man is different. That man forces her to feel. Even if she doesn't like him, she respects him. And that's the secret. Respect comes before attraction. Without respect, there's no foundation. But here's where it gets tricky. Respect isn't something you demand. You can't force her to see your value. You can only embody it. Respect is in how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you react when things don't go your way. Respect is revealed when she ignores your first comment. Do you flinch, retreat, or laugh it off and continue? Respect shows when she tests you with a sharp response. Do you get defensive or do you smile, unfazed, because her reaction doesn't define your worth? You want the quickest way to connect with new women? Stop chasing approval and start standing in self-respect. Women can smell approval seeking a mile away. It's in your body language, in the way your voice rises at the end of sentences like you're asking for permission, in the way you hover too close or talk too fast. That energy tells her you value her opinion more than you value your own grounding. And once she senses that, the game is over. She'll take the attention, maybe even flirt a little, but deep down, she knows she can't feel safe with you. Safe doesn't mean comfortable. Safe means she feels your strength. She feels like you won't crumble if she rejects you. She feels like you won't lose yourself if she pulls away. That's why the man who can walk away instantly becomes more attractive. Detachment is power. When you detach, you flip the script. Instead of trying to prove yourself to her, you invite her to prove herself to you. Here's the hard part. Most men never practice indifference in the face of her tests. Imagine this. You finally work up the courage to approach. She barely looks at you, gives you a cold hi, and turns back to her phone. Most men retreat in shame, telling themselves, she wasn't interested. But the man who understands female psychology knows this is the opening move. She's not rejecting you, she's testing you. She wants to see if your confidence collapses the second she withholds attention. If you flinch, she confirms her suspicion. You're just another fragile ego. But if you stay grounded, unfazed, maybe even smile at her dismissiveness and respond with calm certainty, something shifts. You've passed the test. You've shown her you're not dependent on her reaction. And let's be brutally clear, this isn't about manipulation. This isn't about playing fake games. It's about showing that you are a man who lives by his own standard, not hers. Women want to feel your desire. They just don't want to feel like your entire sense of self depends on their response to it. When you can show interest without attachment, you've unlocked the door to genuine connection. That's why the strongest move you can make isn't walking up with the perfect line. It's walking up knowing you don't need the perfect outcome. You'll be fine whether she engages, ignores, or rejects. Because when you live like that, you radiate freedom, and freedom is irresistible. So I'll ask you, how often do you catch yourself hesitating because you're afraid of rejection? How many times have you walked away from a woman you wanted, only to beat yourself up later for not taking the risk? And what would change in your life if you finally learned to detach from the outcome? What would you think if I told you that the real reason most men fail with women isn't because they lack looks, money, or charm, but because they hand over their power without even realizing it? Every time you let her mood dictate your mood, every time you chase harder because she pulls back, every time you adjust your personality to win her approval, you've already surrendered. And once she senses that surrender, no matter how kind, generous, or attentive you are, the attraction dies. Women are masters of subtle control. Not because they're evil, but because it's survival. Since they were young, they've been learning to test, to read, to manipulate emotions, often without even being conscious of it. It's instinctual. She doesn't walk into a room and think, I'm going to test every man here. But she feels who she can influence and who she cannot. And deep down, she wants to be with the man she cannot move so easily. Here's the pattern. She withdraws. Maybe she stops texting as quickly. Maybe her tone changes. Maybe she suddenly seems less enthusiastic. And instantly, you panic. You start asking yourself, did I do something wrong? Should I call her more? Should I fix this? And the more you try to pull her back in, the more she drifts away. Why? Because now she sees it clearly. She controls the dynamic. Your emotions are tied to her presence. She doesn't have to respect you because you've shown you don't respect yourself enough to walk away. The internal cost of this is massive. Every time you bend, every time you chase, every time you let yourself be trained by her approval, you chip away at your masculine center. You become smaller, weaker, less magnetic, and she feels it. She might even resent you for it. She wanted to feel your strength, but instead, she feels the burden of your neediness. Now, imagine the opposite. She pulls away, she withholds. She throws a little coldness at you to see what happens. But instead of reacting, you stay grounded. You don't flood her phone with texts. You don't beg for her attention. You don't even need to confront her. You simply continue living your life, building your world, and radiating the message, I don't chase, I attract. That's when the dynamic flips. Suddenly, she's the one who feels off balance. She's the one questioning herself. She's the one leaning back in, wondering why her usual tricks didn't work on you. And here's the thing. This doesn't just work in dating. It works everywhere. People respect the man who cannot be controlled by approval or rejection. That man is rare. That man is valuable. That man becomes the center of gravity in any room he walks into. So how do you build this detachment? You practice small moments of indifference. The next time a woman tests you with sarcasm, don't defend yourself. Laugh, shrug, and move on. The next time she takes a little longer to text back, don't spiral. Put your phone down and get on with your mission. The next time she tries to bait you into proving your worth, flip the frame. Let her prove hers. That shift in energy changes everything. But let me warn you, detachment doesn't mean coldness. It doesn't mean acting like you don't care. That's just another form of pretending. True detachment means you desire her. You're interested, you're engaged, but your soul isn't for sale. You can want her without needing her. You can enjoy her without depending on her. And when you live in that space, women feel it instantly. It's intoxicating. It makes them curious. It makes them invest. Here's the brutal reality. The more you try to hold on to a woman, the quicker she slips through your fingers. The more willing you are to lose her, the more likely she is to chase you. That's the paradox men fight against every day. And until you master it, you'll keep repeating the same painful cycle. So ask yourself this. When she pulls away, do you tighten your grip or loosen it? When she tests you, do you crumble or stay grounded? And what would it feel like to finally stand so firm in your value that no woman's behavior could shake you again? Some women will lock eyes with you, smile, and make it easy. But most won't. Most will put up walls, not because they don't want you, but because they need to know what you're made of. They need to know whether your interest in them is real, or if you're just another man addicted to chasing beauty. And here's the secret most men ignore. Women don't actually want to be chased. They want to be chosen. Chosen by a man who knows his own worth, who has options, who can walk away at any moment but decides deliberately to walk toward her. This is why chasing fails. When you chase, you communicate that she's the prize and you're the pursuer. That her attention is the reward and your attention is cheap. And once you've told her that, she'll believe it. She'll take what she can get, but she won't respect you for it. Respect only comes when you flip the frame. When she feels like you're evaluating her as much as she's evaluating you. Think about how many times you've seen a man bend himself into a pretzel to keep a woman's interest. He laughs at jokes he doesn't find funny. He agrees with opinions he doesn't actually believe. He starts molding his schedule, his hobbies, even his friendships to fit into her life. At first, she might appreciate the attention, but soon something shifts. She gets bored, irritated, restless. Why? Because on a deep level, she knows he's not being real. She knows he's sacrificing his authenticity just to please her. And if he's willing to betray himself to keep her, what kind of man is he really? Contrast that with the man who sets the frame from the beginning. He's direct, he speaks his mind without hesitation. He enjoys her company, but he doesn't revolve around it. If she flakes, he doesn't sulk. He moves on. If she disagrees, he doesn't fold. He listens. And if he truly disagrees, he says so calmly. That man communicates one thing without ever saying it. I want you, but I don't need you. Here's the psychology behind it. Women are drawn to men who create tension. Not drama, not chaos, but tension. The tension of not knowing whether you're going to give her your full attention or pull it away. The tension of her wondering if she's earned her place in your life. The tension of her realizing that your world keeps moving with or without her. That tension activates her desire. It makes her invest. It makes her try. But here's where most men ruin it. They confuse tension with games. Games are fake. Games are dishonest. Games are manipulation. And eventually, women sniff them out. But real tension comes from your lifestyle, your focus, your refusal to bend. It comes from you having purpose, ambition, and self-respect. You don't have to pretend to be busy. You are busy. You don't have to fake having options. You actually do. You don't have to act confident. You've earned it through discipline and self-mastery. That's why the quickest way to connect with women is paradoxical. It's not to give them more of your energy, but less. Not to talk endlessly, but to speak with weight. Not to chase them, but to live so fully in your own direction that they feel pulled to chase you. When you live like that, every interaction shifts. Your compliments hit harder because they're rare and genuine. Your attention feels valuable because it isn't given to everyone. Your presence carries gravity because you're not desperate for validation. And here's the field application. The next time you're with a woman, notice your instinct to overcompensate. Notice when you're about to laugh too hard, talk too much, or agree too quickly. Catch it. Stop yourself. Instead, slow down. Hold eye contact a little longer. Let silences breathe. Speak honestly, even if it risks disagreement. Show her, through your behavior, that you value yourself more than her approval. That single shift changes everything. Because at the end of the day, women don't fall for men who give them everything. They fall for men who make them earn it. They don't want to be handed your world on a silver platter. They want to feel like they fought their way into it. That's what makes it valuable. That's what makes them stay. So I'll leave you with this. When you're around a woman you desire, are you the one auditioning for her approval, or is she auditioning for yours? When you feel the urge to chase, can you catch yourself and hold back instead? And what would happen in your life if you finally stopped giving away your power and started living like the prize? Some women will test you in ways so subtle you won't even notice at first. A delayed response to your message, a casual mention of another guy's name, a sarcastic comment about your shirt. On the surface, these things seem small, almost meaningless. But underneath, they're her way of asking a simple question. Are you a man I can trust to stand firm, or will you crumble the moment I push against you? This is where most men fail. They take everything personally. She delays her reply and suddenly he's double texting, over-explaining, or asking if something's wrong. She mentions another guy, and he gets defensive, jealous, or tries to prove why he's better. She teases him and he scrambles to justify himself instead of smiling and letting it roll off. What he doesn't realize is that in every one of those reactions, he's revealing his frame is weak. He's showing that her smallest move has the power to shift his entire emotional state. And once she sees that, the connection is broken. Here's the cold truth. If she can shake you with something small, she'll never trust you with something big. If you can't stay calm when she pulls back for a day, how could she trust you to stay calm when life gets hard? If you fold at the mention of another man, how could she believe you're secure enough to handle her full spectrum of emotions? Women crave strength because strength is safety. Not the kind of strength that bullies or controls, but the strength of a man who won't lose himself no matter what. So the quickest way to connect isn't in the perfect approach, the funniest joke, or the smoothest compliment. It's in showing her, consistently, that you are unshaken. That no matter what test she throws, your center holds. She feels this in the way you don't rush, in the way you don't explain yourself unnecessarily, in the way you can look her in the eye when she's being difficult and smile as if to say, "That's cute, but it doesn't move me." Think about the men women obsess over. They're not always the tallest, richest, or best looking. Often, they're simply the men who hold their frame when others collapse. The man who doesn't flood her with validation just because she's attractive. The man who doesn't rush to fill every silence with nervous chatter. The man who can sit across from her, calm and collected, while she fidgets under the weight of his steady presence. That man is unforgettable. But don't mistake steadiness for passivity. This isn't about sitting back and doing nothing. It's about action without attachment. When you see a woman you want, you approach. Not with hesitation, not with apology, but with clarity. You say what you want to say, you show interest openly, but then you let the chips fall where they may. You don't try to force her response. You don't cling if she's not receptive. You move on with the same steady energy you brought into the interaction. That's how she feels the difference between a man acting from desire and a man acting from need. And here's the paradox. The more you show you can live without her, the more she wants to be part of your life. The more you reveal that her approval doesn't define you, the more she craves to win it. The moment she realizes she can't shake you, that's the moment she starts to invest. Because now, you're not just another man orbiting her beauty, you're the challenge, the one she wants to figure out, the one she wants to earn. This is why detachment is the ultimate weapon. It doesn't mean coldness, it doesn't mean apathy, it doesn't mean pretending not to care. It means your sense of self is untouchable. She can walk away and you're still whole. She can tease, test, withdraw, and you're still steady. That unshakable center is what creates connection, because it makes her feel something rare, trust. And trust is the soil where attraction grows roots. So I'll ask you this. Have you ever noticed how quickly your energy shifts when a woman delays her response or acts distant? Do you find yourself chasing harder, even though you know it pushes her away? And what would your life look like if you could finally master the art of indifference? Not as a game, but as a way of living rooted in unshakable self-respect?